more money, and then next year or 2 years or 10 years we get bigger and we get more money. It just keeps going. Is that what I'm seeing?
No.
Where does it stop?
No, because at some, we've got enough aircraft that are in C2 category. They allow you to have a certain number. I think it's like 500. Well, we've exceeded that 500. That's operations, takeoffs and landings.
I understand. Okay.
Okay, and we've exceeded that number. So at that point, the FAA can come in and say you are no longer compliant, and they will restrict the funding. So you can't just go.
But that's what we're facing now at B.
That's correct. Right now we're at B2 standards. Now, but the aircraft that come in, they do it on the pilot's discretion.
I got that.
Right. So we can't stop them. The FAA says we can't stop them. So they just keep using the runway. Well, the other problem is it's an unsafe situation with as many aircraft. So they figure the numbers deal is going to kick in, and sooner or later we're going to have a problem. So to mitigate that, they want us to do the upgrade. Well, we make the runway wider, so if they stray a little bit off the center line, they still got room to move with that.
And I'm with you on all that. But let's say we go to C2, then what stops us from going to the next number?
The mountains.
So there is a limitation then that stops us, but then we lose the funding, I suppose. At that point. If we can't keep getting bigger, how do we, in other words...
No. They'll still maintain it at, to C2. Then we'll just keep going, because there is a limit. I mean, we can't, we just don't have the space for anything bigger.
Then I'm going back to what was been said on the runway. If it costs $3 million to put in the runway, and we go to C2, and we can't get bigger, so in 15 years from now we have to put a new runway, and will they pay for that without changing?
Yeah.
Why don't they do that on B then right now? Why don't they just stay with where you're at?
Well, they just did.
I understand that, but if I got what you said though, with these big jets coming in, they're going to refuse to pay for any more unless we expand.
Yeah, unless we do the compliance, yeah.
So there's no way we can stay at B2 airport.
And keep the funding.
Yeah, we will not be able to keep the funding as I understand it. We will not be able to keep the funding. So what we have to do is figure out how are we going to pay to maintain. Then the bill, so to speak, ends up in Heber City's lap. They have to pay for it. So, and to pay for it from what? From income from the airport, i.e. fuel flowage or leases, ground leases, and all that kind of good stuff. It's still probably not going to be enough. So,
I've got a question on that. So, if we don't comply, we have some consequences. We have to pay something. Somebody has some kind of estimate of what that would cost. Is it $2,000 a year? Is it $1 million a year?
I don't know. I don't do the numbers.
Okay.
Put them in. You want me to go watch your seat? I'll go watch it.
He's watching for the bus.
There's a bus over there, Dave.
My name is Ron Phillips. I'm a member of the airport. I think we jumped over what we should start with here, and that's process. I think to explain the process from this point forward would be very helpful, because nobody's made any decisions at this point to go to a C2 airport. A lot of what's been discussed is speculative of what happens if we do that, because it's still an if. The process is that the Federal Aviation Administration, which we refer to accurately as FAA, has agreed to pay the lion's share of the master plan process for the Heber City Airport. The city is in the process right now of selecting an engineering and planning consultant that will assist us in doing this master plan. The master plan process will begin with data collection and analysis, so that we have numbers and everything we need to go to the next step. There will be a multi-step process in the planning process. It will take probably 2 years to go through this process, unless the city decides to stop it at some point. There will be a large number of public meetings and meetings where we break into small groups and each group talks about and makes the comments and all that comes together and feeds into this public participation process. So I just wanted to let you know that even though somebody has drawn a map showing what runway protection zones might be for the C2 airport, like we've been looking at, there's been no decisions along that line, and there will be no decisions until we complete this public process over the next 18 months.
One question on that, not to put you on the spot, okay? That said, and I think that's kind of where we are, what I just heard, and I don't want to focus too much on it. I realize that. But if,
I wasn't sure that everybody knew.
but if there's an overwhelming, and I've been in meetings in the past, and we have a bunch here today, and if you went to a vote, it'd be very clear, I think. We want a bigger airport, why are we doing it? That, I think, that's what a lot of people would like to know.
At that point, we'll have all the data necessary to say, if we make this decision, this is what it will cost, and what the implications will be. If we make this decision, we know what that will cost and what the implications will be.
But
We don't really have, we can speculate about those things right now, but we need to have hard data that everybody can understand and see and read and question before that.
Do we know that what that study will cost that you mentioned, the FAA will pay a lion's share of it, but do we have an idea?
It's got about a $300,000 budget.
And the city pays 4.6, 4.7%.
Study pays.
The state pays another
The same.
4.7.
I'm sure there's something else here, but just to throw this in, what is the airport's budget yearly?
Well, it depends. I mean,
Without the improvements, just operations.
operations, around $100,000 a year.
Mostly paid by revenues from within.
Yeah. And I foresee that in the next few years because we don't have any big capital projects on the radar.
Plus you get the 100,000 from
So
the.
it's hard,
50,000.
it's hard to capitalize $4 million to do a runway, $100,000 a year.
Well,
Yeah, and we're out in increments before.
There's two, let me explain. There's two kinds of federal money. There's entitlement money, which this size of an airport, this many enplanements, or this many operations, it's $150,000 a year. And that's been true for 10, 15 years, maybe more. Then there's discretionary funds, the FAA has. And that's where if you have in your master plan that you need a runway rebuild, this was not just an overlay, this was a rebuild because it's done. Then they'll budget and work with the city to what year they're going to budget that amount of money. The city budgets, it's 5% essentially, and the project is done that way. So when Dave talks about not getting federal money, it's mainly, I think, in the discretionary area that would be difficult to justify if we don't need.
Wouldn't it be possible to justify it on just regular wear and tear and maintenance of the existing B2 runway? On the discretionary fund?
Well, when you get to the point that the runway needs to be overlaid, and an overlay would not be $3.5 million, but it would be a significant amount of money. And the FAA is not participating, then the city has to make a decision. Literally, we just continue filling cracks. That's all I.
Just one clarification on the airport that we are. We were building B2, correct? And then that would allow us up to 500 planes annually that come in that are classified as C2. Once we get that, we almost automatically become a C2 airport. But but we're not in compliance, because we're not built to a C2. Is that correct? Because I think right now our projections are we're going to get 700 to 900 flights possibly this year. There's C2 flights that come into this airport. So
We hit 588 last year. I don't know what.
we're above the 500. So we're built as a B2, but we're operating as we're not in compliance as a C2. We've automatically moved into the C2 position, but we're not in compliance. Is that fair to say?
According to FAA standards, they feel that an airport operating at over 500 C2 aircraft per year is less safe if it stays as a B2 design. So it's a safety issue, and that's what, when Dave said it's at the pilot's discretion, they can make up their own mind whether they're going to land on a B2 airport or whether they're flying a C2 airport.
Doesn't the owner of the airport have any discretion on that? Because if you can't control who's coming in and out, they're going to force you to go to a larger airport.
I don't know if that's the question.
It is.
It is.
Doesn't the owner of the airport have some say on what classification they're going to
Well, now he was saying that that would be discriminatory, but that means the
Short answer
FAA
would be
wouldn't,
no.
but the
No,
FAA
we
wouldn't
can't.
fund it.
The FAA says we can't stop those people from landing.
But if we were to decide to do that, to stop this, then
How do you do
what's
it?
what's the punishment?
That's what my question to you is, how do you do it? How do you stop them from landing?
But then, I mean, if it's not a safe airport, the pilot doesn't want to do it, but I understand what you're saying, because we don't have a tower, so we can't deny them from landing. Are you done, Dave? You got your comments? I mean, there might be more questions to you.
I'll sit here. I'd like to see you better than that one.
Ron, you took your turn, you're the next in seniority.
Yeah, I'm done.
Heidi is next in seniority, okay, but she is way younger than me, so she asked me if I'd get up next. This is hard. I work with these folks and I have high respect for them. They're mostly airport interested people. They put how many hours, or 11 years they put on. Part of the problem with the facts is that different people have different sets of facts. And Ron touched on it. We are right now in the process of approving on the 21st a brand new consultant which does planning and engineering parts for the next 5 years or so. We've had a consultant for 15 years. His thing's been renewed 3 times. We didn't renew that this time. So we are in the process of getting on board a new consultant. It'll be approved or not, but I think it probably will, on the 21st of this month in the Heber City meeting. And then you'll know who it is and they'll be on board. As we extended the consideration for them coming on board, and with the other 2 consultants that we also interviewed with, we pushed real hard that we need to have the facts become facts, especially the financial analysis. And one of the consultants, well, one that's been with us, brought 2 people. One that was a airport financial guru, really impressive. And they brought on a public relations, which is the one the chamber uses. And I asked the question, when did they come on? Well, we just got them, because they're here trying to get a renewal of their bid, right? And they haven't been on before. And I asked the question that, why not? Well, in 2003, there were some hearings, and they became scared of the public. That was, I think, pretty close to their words, if not exactly. They wanted to do the master plan and get all these numbers and all their ducks in a row before they faced you good citizens. You've got opinions like I do, I guess. But in 2003, there was a hearing at the airport, not a hearing, excuse me, a public meeting, or was that a hearing?
It's going to be public hearing.
Public hearing, and that consultant was there, and there was at least 2 hearings in the high school, and it was pretty close to unanimous. We don't want to expand. Okay, this is the point I'd like to have us, or at least me, will divide the discussion. To me, there's 2 questions. Do you want to expand our airport? If you woke up tomorrow, and excuse me, I know there's pilots that will disagree, but if the citizenry woke up tomorrow and the airport was over in Camas, how upset would you be? Okay, so do we want to, we've got a B2. And we thought we could change our mind in 20 years and just the airport could go away. We've recently found out that for all these times we bought property, we've been bound into an in perpetuity clause forever. You know, we turn it in a few years more.
What do you mean, into perpetuity?
Perpetuity,
Yeah, we
okay,
have
let me back up.
Okay.
When we take any money of any kind, we do, well, let me just make those two things, and then I'll get right in it, Steve. One is the question, does our community want to expand? And I am in full respect that this affects Wasatch County. The reason I wanted to show the map, it could affect the transfer station, it could affect 189, it certainly will affect Daniels. And if it doesn't go over the fence, the actual runway won't, but the effects will, okay? The other question is, if we don't, what happens? Now, the airport board, I think, pretty solidly thinks that if we don't do it, FAA is going to quit doing these discretionary grants. I'm the new kid on the block, but I've read several hundred pages of the assurances and the grants. And I was up all night last night and boiled, I'd already done some of the work, but after Danny quit feeding me, then I did 25 pages, and I will give those copies to the council. For brevity, I'm just going to try to tell you what's in here, because I spent 3 hours this morning to one of our congressional people going through it. There's a lot there. But I will make statements, and anything anyone cares to have me prove, it's here and I'll find it, okay? So the other half of the question is what will happen if we don't? You've all been asking that. What happens if we don't? Here's what gets me. In 2014, the FAA funded a $3.5 million overlay of a B2 airport. And now, 3 years later, they're saying, oh, you got 500 planes, it's not safe, so now we want you to do a C2, or maybe we won't fund. Now, I've heard a lot of, they won't fund us. Never seen it in writing. I talked to the FAA yesterday afternoon, and I says, so tell me, if we, you know, we got the five, she says, if you get 500 landings, we want you to go to a wider, separated from some of the facilities runway. I says, so what? Are you going to make us? She says, we won't make you do anything. And you confirm that. They're not in the business. And I show you all kinds of things that say it's up to the sponsor. Okay, Heber City is the sponsor. We've been dumping general fund money on occasion, especially when we have to match these grants. And if it has to be maintained in perpetuity, we'll dump a lot more, maybe. But the expansion is estimated at 38 million, so that won't be cheap either. So, back to, I'm getting to you now, Steve. As a sponsor, okay, we enter into a group of assurances, 39 of them. Basically, we're saying to the FAA, we'll do these 39 things if you give us money. We'll be obligated to do these 39 things. And what kind of frustrates me is that I keep hearing of some of them, but never necessarily drilling in on some of the others. For example, one of the assurances is that we run at a profit, if at all possible. But yet we haven't been doing a lot to try to earn money so that our citizens are a little happier about being the sponsor. But it's in here. But those assurances shall remain in full force and effect throughout the useful life of the facilities. I'm going to skip over a little, but not to exceed 20 years. So we've been hearing anytime we take money, there's strings. Now let me give you an idea what strings we're talking about. There's 3 pages. They're all the same spacing as the front one you're looking at, or I'll pass it out. This is the second page of where it talks about the assurances in the FAA manual. The sponsor hereby assures and certifies with respect to this grant that every one of these is being complied with. Those are federal regulations, 3 pages of single spacing. So the minute we took dollars from FAA to turn our glider airport into something more than that, we started saying we do all these things. Now there's where the rub comes, guys. Okay, so that's the assurances, and we're saying we'll do it, but here's the real rub. Because there's been discussion about what if we grid it out through those 20 years. Rather than pay the $30 million and expand it, we just tax our citizens and get through it. Well, we just found out when we bought the Maverick property that it goes more than that, because it says there shall be no limit on the duration of the terms, conditions, and assurances with respect to real property acquired with federal funds. The word in perpetuity, it appears that way in other places, but it means no, it goes on forever. So I guess we got us a B2 airport, folks. Forever, the city does. It helps the county. We'd love you to help send us some money. It helps Park City. We'll take some donations or whatever. But basically, the airport users, and there's a whole list of things we could be doing. We could have, you know, repair shops and all kinds of things that we haven't been promoting as a airport board or city or whoever. I'm not going to say who hasn't. Nobody hasn't. It hasn't been happening. So I'm going to just kind of flip through and remind myself of the comments, because there's just so much here, and I apologize, my fingers don't even work really good. I'm just going by a whole bunch of things I've circled that we don't do, that are in here. So we kind of, the FAA says, you better do this one, and they overlook this one, and when they ask it, it's kind of like you ask a question, you better want the answer. If you don't ask, maybe it slips past.
It would appear there's got to be some kind of protection in there for the sponsor.
Well, there kind of is. We're kind of getting there. One of the things it asks for is that we have on our board, our airport board, a voting representation from the communities where the project is located, or will be if we expand, or let them know that they have a right to petition the FAA. Now that's talking about Daniel. They have a right to either be on our board or petition the FAA that they're being neglected in terms of what we're doing to them if we expand. There's a preventative maintenance program we have to assure them. That's number 11. Number 13, we got to have the right accounting system. Number 14, we got to pay minimum wages. Number 15, we got a veterans preference. Goes on and on and on. We have to do planning projects. You've heard mentioned the master plan, but we also have to plan where the terminal, where the runways, those kind of things are intermediate plans. Okay? One of the things that some of the council at least is looking at is getting a second FBO. Here's an acronym. FBO is the fixed base operator. He's who runs the thing, sells gas, gets fees if they land on his tarmac and so forth. We're looking to get a second. We believe free enterprise works best, and there hasn't been competition. There's been resistance. We almost got here late because the airport board isn't thrilled about it. But as a city council, we may be considering that fairly soon. If we go to a master plan, which had $300,000 in it for 2016, because we needed $1.5 million for Maverick, we pushed that $300,000 over into 2017 for the master plan. We're due for kind of having it, but the reason for a master plan is to consider whether you want to expand or not. Yes or no, but you study it, you do the numbers, you check everything out. But that's why you do it. If the public just, after they know the numbers and we get the facts, yell and holler and scream we don't want it, then maybe we don't finish it. But at least we started to get you the numbers. Just like Smith said, by some of these others, it's hard to get these numbers. They're not easy. we need to look at it, we're looking at it, okay? We have to do, okay, we're the sponsor. We can take appropriate action to the extent reasonable, including the adoption of zoning laws. I want the council to be aware of this. Zoning laws to restrict the use of the land adjacent to the immediate vicinity of the airport to activities and purposes compatible with the normal operations, including landing and takeoff and adequate zoning. Now, I'm going to not read the other one, but it also says we're responsible in our assurances to push, I'll use my word, encourage, help, get Daniels to do zoning and get the county to do zoning around our airport. That's what FAA is telling us. It's one of the things we have to say we'll do. We need to be here doing that. Well, we didn't even do it in Heber. We didn't zone in front of this RPC, and here comes Maverick, and they were legal, and they applied, and the planning commission approved it. Then we had to buy them out. But they were allowed. They were legal. The FAA just, they didn't like it, so there was another solution I might get to. Okay, the sponsor may establish such reasonable and not unjustly discriminatory conditions to be met by all users of the airport as may be necessary for the safe and efficient operation of the airport. Now here's what just, I'm sorry, gets my goat. If we had a B2 airport, and in 2013 there were hardly any, a few maybe, C2 aircraft, and the citizens of this county and city said they don't want to go to a C2 size, we had a B2 size, but we just kept letting them land. And I've heard them say, no, 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 we can't. Well, yes, there's some things we can do. We can raise the landing fees. And I even read possibly, and they've said it will, what they give you here, they take away somewhere else. But we as a sponsor can establish rules to say, hey, even the FAA is telling us this B2 thing isn't safe. So we want to discourage you from coming here. I won't read all of them, but we can have two different rates. One for B2 aircraft and one for C2 aircraft. We can jack it up, jack it up, jack it up, until they don't want to come. If that's what our citizenry wants. Understand that those big planes pay Heber money. And so if we restrict them, we may be, cutting some of our revenue to Heber. So if we run short, we hope all you county folks will come help. But there's trade-offs in these things, but we can do it. There's a couple other places.